This is News 3 at 5.
Thanks for staying with News 3. We begin this evening with continuing coverage of last night's deadly shooting on the Las Vegas Strip. What was supposed to be the end of a three-day country music festival in Las Vegas instead closed with the deadliest shooting in modern U.S. history.
The latest reports say at least 58 people are dead and at least 515 were injured. Police say 64-year-old Stephen Paddock opened fire from his hotel room on the 32nd floor of the Mandalay Bay onto the crowd below. Country music star Jason Aldean was performing at the Route 91 Harvest Festival last night when gunshots rang out. Authorities say Paddock had at least 17 guns in his hotel room.
The suspect's family members say they are dumbfounded. His brother says Paddock was a multimillionaire real estate investor. Police are piecing together every shred of information on who he was and what might have fueled this anger. Kenneth Craig reports from Las Vegas. Paddock had no military service. He worked for 3 years in the 1980s for a company now owned by defense giant Lockheed Martin.
Calling it an act of pure evil, the president today expressed condolences for the victims of the Las Vegas shootings.
Hundreds of our fellow citizens are now mourning the sudden loss of a loved one, a parent, a child, a brother or sister. We cannot fathom their pain. We cannot imagine their loss.
This afternoon, everything stopped as the White House observed a moment of silence for Las Vegas. President Trump also thanked the first responders for their efforts. He plans to go to Las Vegas on Wednesday.
We continue team coverage of the local connections to this deadly shooting. Dave Delosier talked with a local SWAT team about lessons to be learned. But we begin with Leah Linscheid, who has a couple's terrifying story. Leah?
Yeah, chaos is how they describe this scene. Spencer and Cindy Davis are vendors selling jewelry at this concert near the front gate when suddenly shots rang out and people started running. It's that sound that they remember most vividly.
Even as we were running away and got in our truck, you could still hear it driving down the strip.
Yeah, and just one of those things where, it sounded like it was, coming from everywhere. It was like it was following you.
Now, the couple is okay, and some of their family members also at the concert are safe and accounted for. They say a great security staff helped get thousands of people out of harm's way. Now, before the couple heads back to the Midwest, Cindy and Spencer say they'll donate blood to help out victims who weren't as fortunate as them.
All right, Leah Linscheid in our news center. Leah, thank you. And while the investigation into the motive behind the Vegas shooting continues, law enforcement will also be working to learn from this.
Every active shooter case is different, and that gives law enforcement an opportunity to learn something from it. Our Dave Delosier is here now with more on what could be learned. Dave.
Yeah, there is a lot to be learned, Eric and Susan. In the coming weeks and months, law enforcement will break down the response to the Vegas shooting. They will do so less to find fault than it is ways to improve response should a similar attack take place in the future. Now, that plan should include where are you going to go to escape if something happens, and where are the exits? And is there a place where you can go where you can barricade yourself so that the shooter can't get at you? Eric and Susan, this really points out the fact that this type of thing can happen anywhere, a school, a shopping area, a concert, anywhere.
So many things to think about. Dave, thank you. Now, we want to get to Las Vegas right now. We understand police are giving an update right now. Let's listen in.
Here to my heart. Las Vegas Fire and Rescue, Henderson Fire Department, and North Las Vegas Fire Department. As we were all teamed up there last night doing what we've trained for so many years. We wish would never happen, but we definitely had a plan in place, and we were able to execute that plan as well as we possibly could. We had 108 firefighters on scene. We have 155 unit hours just for the Clark County Fire Department alone spent last night handling that scene, teaming up with our partners from the law enforcement to reach as many people as fast as we could and to try to do as much as we could for the community. I also want to take a moment to recognize Community Ambulance. They were there as a standby medical at that scene last night. They had 5 or 6 ambulances there. They immediately threw critically wounded patients into their ambulances and transported from that scene. And also American Medical Response, AMR, and Medic West Ambulance. They brought all hands on deck. They brought in all of their employees. They rallied everything they could, from pickup trucks to vans to all their available ambulances, to bring extra medical supplies down to a staging area for us and to make those resources available to our community during that time of need. So I want to give a big shout out to those private ambulance companies that have done a wonderful thing for us last night as responders. And from the fire department side, I'll take a few questions.
Are you able to say how many ambulances?
I could not quantify that, but I have worked here for 30 years and I have never seen that many ambulances that I saw last night.
Tens, dozens, hundreds?
Dozens and dozens.
You said 108 firefighters. Is that 108 Clark County firefighters?
That's 108 firefighters combined from those resources I mentioned, those 4 fire departments.
What types of injuries were there to the people transported to the hospital? Was it mostly gunshot wounds?
There was a wide range of injuries, from gunshots to shrapnel wounds to trample injuries to people jumping fences trying to egress and getting hurt one way or another. So it was a wide range of those types of injuries.
Chief, will you explain or comment or tell us what the staging process is? There are some who said it took a long time for people to finally get into the venue, or rescuers to finally get into the venue.
Well, we had multiple branches and divisions set up last night to cover that large area, and I can't speak to how long it took them to get into that venue, but we had some issues right out of the chute, or right out of the start, because things were going on. We didn't know where the gunfire was. We weren't sure it was safe to commit our people at that time, and that's some of our policies and procedures are to try and make our people as safe as possible. We know they're going to go into a dangerous situation. That's why we do it in a format called a rescue task force with the police departments. 4 of our personnel, 3 to 4 police officers going into harm's way, which is something that even 10 years ago in this valley would have never taken place because we had never trained on it. We had never planned on it.
We're watching a live update from authorities in Las Vegas about the Las Vegas shooting. No update on the death toll. As far as we heard, the death toll remains at 58 with 515 people injured. Stay with News 3 and CBS News for the latest. Next, Anthony Mason will anchor the CBS Evening News from Las Vegas, Nevada. And then tonight at 6, we'll talk to a former Madison resident who lives right next door to where this attack happened. You can get the latest updates anytime on our website, channel3000.com.
We do have more breaking news today. Tom Petty, the rocker, best known as the frontman of Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, is reportedly clinging to life. CBS News reports the legendary musician was taken to a Los Angeles hospital after he had suffered a cardiac arrest. He was found unconscious and not breathing in his Malibu home last night. Earlier, CBS News did report that Petty had passed away, citing the Los Angeles Police Department, but the department later tweeted that it has no information about the passing of the singer and apologized for an inconvenience in that reporting. Next at 5, the head of FEMA is in Puerto Rico today, where most residents are still without power. This more than 12 days since Hurricane Maria. More troops are on the ground now. More fuel is reaching the island, but food remains scarce, and just half of the island's residents have drinking water. FEMA is calling this, quote, the most logistically challenging event the U.S. has ever seen. President Trump is scheduled to visit Puerto Rico tomorrow to survey the damage himself. Today, Mayor Paul Soglin criticized President Trump over the relief efforts in Puerto Rico, saying we need better presidential leadership in Washington.
Clearly, something must be done in Washington where we help solve the problem, getting relief supplies and the materials to rebuild the island without blaming the victims.
Soglin has also addressed the shooting in Las Vegas, calling for stricter gun laws in light of the latest mass shooting. He says the constitutional right to bear arms should not be interpreted as permitting this type of action.
Authorities have found a body near where a 27-year-old was reported missing, but they have yet to release an identity. Police are searching for Marissa Doms, who was last seen on Thursday at Lake Melvin Park in the village of Dane. She's 5'3", 115 pounds, with brown hair, brown eyes, and an eyebrow piercing. The Sheriff's Department does not suspect foul play in her disappearance. A family-owned printing company with deep roots in Madison is being purchased by a Minnesota firm. CJK Group of Brainerd, Minnesota, is acquiring Web Crafters, a company whose origins date back to 1868. Terms of the deal were not disclosed. Web Crafters specializes in education-based textbooks as well as other printing services and has been owned by the Frauchi family since the 1950s. It employs about 270 people.
Still ahead tonight at 5, Madison residents may see an increase in their water bill next spring.
We'll take a look at what's behind the proposed increase. That's when News 3 at 5 continues.